I've already done the data table for the stocks. I made this look neat, and I've frozen that top row, so you should go ahead and do the same. The first question we have is, look, Delta Airlines here doesn't have data. So what's going on there? Delta Airlines had gone bankrupt. They still operated. They came out of bankruptcy, so they didn't exist for those months. So if I can't have the covariance between Delta and these other stocks because Delta was dead. There was no covariance, no relationship at all. So like I said, we need to find risk, return, and relationship. So what I'm going to do is delete these rows because I'm not losing very much data. If Delta Airlines didn't exist for a longer time period, maybe I find the relationship between the other 4 stocks and estimate the relationship with Delta and the remaining stocks. But for now, I'm just going to delete that. I put that in there to show you that financial data is not perfect, and the decision I made there is not necessarily right, but it is, in my judgment, the best one. So you're never going to be right. You just want to be as close to right as possible. So I'm going to get the average of these. So just type equal average, period, control up, and go down, hit enter. That's the average, but that's a monthly average of the returns. So I'll multiply by 12, and those are my annualized returns. It doesn't matter how many months they are, it's monthly data. Those are my annualized returns, and I'll make that look good, and those are the percentages. So I need risk, return, relationship. Now I have return. I'm going to go back up to the top here. I'm going to go to data, data analysis, go to covariance, and this is going to find the risk and relationship. Highlight the input range, and I'm going to have the labels there, the ticker symbols. Go all the way down with this, and I will tell it, look, the labels are in the first row. The output range I want, click in there, click this red, and let's select an output range. Right there would be good. It's okay. There is the monthly covariance matrix, but I need to take this, copy it down here, and I'm going to select this again, and I'm going to copy, Control C, come up here, and I'm going to do paste special. And paste special, I want to transpose, but I don't want to transpose the blank, so skip that. I want the values because I don't want this underline formatting here. And now I'm going to get rid of this, clear the contents. I want to just clear the contents, and I want to get rid of that underline, so I can go to the home, go to here, tell it no borders. Now these terms are monthly, so I'll multiply by 12. So copy a 12, highlight all of this, paste special, and multiply. And I can get rid of that. Oops, I don't want to get rid of that one. I want to get rid of this 12. I want to have these formatted where they look good. And now I have the risk, return, and relationship of these stocks. I'm going to take this, Control C to copy, come down here, Control V to paste, get rid of this underline. These are my stocks, so I'll label that. These are going to be the weights, so I'll label that. I'm going to have this bold all the way around. I'm going to call this my total. So I want underline with these. I want this to be bold, underline, and centered. And this is all subjective, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Now to find the weights, I'm going to highlight all of this because I'm doing matrix multiplication. I'm going to have equal matrix mult, and I want to have the inverse. So M inverse of this. Oh, I forgot the risk-free rate. I got to put risk-free rate somewhere. So I'm going to say right here RF and put this in it as a percent. Put that in at 1. I'm going to highlight all of these. Equal matrix mult. So when that comes up, I can just do tab, and then I want M inverse When that comes up, I can tab. I want the inverse of this. And that's a 5 by 5 matrix, so I need to multiply that by a 5 by 1. So, comma. So think about what you need to do here. The returns are in a row. I need them in a column. So I do transpose. And then I come down here, control down, transpose all of these. And I want to subtract from each term the risk-free rate. Close that up. I'm going to do Control-Shift-Enter. And that's step one. So I'll make sure I have that working. What I need to do next is divide this. So divide by the sum of the entire thing. So just highlight the top, Control-C, Control-V to paste, and make sure you have enough parentheses. You see where that one turns black. And then Control-Shift-Enter. Make sure you're doing Control-Shift-Enter. And down here, to make sure this is equal to 1, I'm going to sum these up. Press Alt equal to sum. Enter. That sums to 1. Now let's make this look good. Those are the weights of the optimal risky portfolio if the risk-free rate was 1%. I'm going to take all of this, Control-C, I'm going to copy over here, Control-V, and make this 3. Now all these weights are wrong, and the reason is the cell references are off. So I'm just going to go back through here, change the cell reference to where it should be. This I'm going to go down to here, change that to where it should be. While I'm down there, I'm going to change this one to where it should be. Then I need to change this one. That needs to be I4 to M8. And I think that's all of it. Control-Shift-Enter. And sure enough, I have two different portfolios. Call this Portfolio X and this Portfolio Y. So I'm going to put in a little insert some rows here. So just insert, shift cells down. I'm going to call this Portfolio X and this Portfolio Y. So I need to have the return. So I'll have asset, return, volatility, and Portfolio X, Portfolio Y. So the return is going to be equal to I want to multiply each one of these weights, the weight of ADCO times the return of ADCO. So I can do matrix multiplication. I need to have the row first. So this, comma, with the weights, shift, and there we go for that. I'm going to put this in, I'm going to put all these in percent format. Same thing for this return is equal to matrix multiplication. Come down here, control down of all of these, comma, back up to here with all of those. And the volatility is going to be this. It's going to be equal to matrix multiplication of, I need to have the weights here, but they need to be transposed. So transpose the weights, and that makes that into a 1 by 5. So I can multiply that by the 5 by 5. And if I do that, I get a 1 by 5 times a 5 by 5, which is a 1 by 5. I need to multiply all that again, so matrix mult of all this times the weights without changing it. Parentheses, Control-Shift-Enter. That's the variance. I really want the volatility. Square root. Well, I'm saying I want the volatility. It depends on what you're doing. And that's the So I need to do the same thing here. So I don't ever write it out like this all at once because I can't keep that in my mind. I like to say I'm going to do the multiplication of the weights first, but I need to transpose them. So these weights transposed times this covariance matrix. Alright, so I have that multiplied together, but I need to multiply again. Times those weights right there. I have all that, but I like to have the square root. Now, of course, you can type it in a much faster way, but like I said, I need to think through it every time. And there's my volatility. Now I want to have the covariance, so covar x comma y. And the way I do that is like the variance, but I use each one of the weights. So it's going to be the matrix multiplication, the transpose. Pick one of the weights for, I'll do x, you could do y, it doesn't matter, times this, the covariance matrix. Close that up, I need the matrix multiplication again, matrix mult. And with these other weights, and that should be enough, Control Shift Enter. And that is the covariance. I'll go ahead and put that in percent form. That's the covariance. So now I'm still going to have time to catch my flight and do part of this. So I want to have the weight in x and the weight in y. Given those, and this doesn't need to be italics, I will find the volatility, vol of the portfolio, and the return of the portfolio. So this I'll say is 1. I'll say this is equal to 1 minus the weight. I'm just going to do this down 0.1 right now, so equal this minus 0.01. Copy this down. I'm going to go down to 101. So keep going down, that's too far obviously. So get rid of that. Clear contents. We'll make this better in just a minute. Alright, so I need to have the volatility for the portfolio. This is just like what we started class with. So it's going to be equal to the square root of the weight squared times the volatility squared. Now obviously you could have kept that as variance and not squared it, whichever way you want to do it, but this number doesn't change, so that's F4 plus this weight squared times this, which will be locked down, F4 squared plus 2 times the weight times the weight times the covariance, which doesn't change, so lock that down, and this number, we'll note, matches that number. The return is going to be equal to the weight times the return, lock that down, plus the weight times the return, lock that down, hit enter, highlight both of these, double click, then in percent format. Now I want to graph this, so insert a scatter graph. I like this little line right here, and it's taking forever to graph. And there's the graph, and note how unappealing it looks. I'll move it over here. I'm going to get rid of this series, delete. And that's not the curved line that you've grown to know and love, right? So what's going on there? Well, we're just seeing a very small portion of that. I want to make it bigger now, so rather than doing 1 to 0, I want to do 2 to -1. But I want to change this So the step size changes, so that's going to go from 1 to -2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say equal the total distance. I'm just going to one at a time. The total distance is that minus that. So I'm going to go into distance of 3. Ignore the graph, it's all messed up right now. That distance is not going to change, so lock that down. Lock that down. So that's the total distance I'm going, and I'm taking 100 steps. So I need to have step size of 0.03. If the step size is 0.03, I take the previous point minus my step size, copy that down, and now the graph starts to look a little better because I'm looking at more of it. Note that going the entire distance. Make that 3, it's going a little bit more. 4, now it starts to really turn. So that is the Efficient Frontier with 5 different assets. Make sure you can mimic that, and we'll go in class because there are a few things I said in here that were a little bit of a shortcut, and we'll clear that up in class and any questions that you have.